classroom walls and empty promises. Kara Mallon sat at the back of room 208, third row from the left, a chipped desk wobbling under her elbow. The math teacher droned about quadratic equations, his voice flat as dust. Outside, early spring winds whispered through the half-open windows, but inside, time was stagnant. No one noticed she hadn't spoken a word all day. No one ever did. Kara was quiet, not shy. There was a difference. She saw things others ignored, watched people with clinical precision. How they faked laughter, how teachers preached about college like it was a golden ticket out of real life, how students wore masks that barely held their faces together. The school celebrated her as gifted, top marks, never late, no detentions, a model student. But no one asked why she stayed up every night, reading defense journals instead of texting friends. No one noticed she winced at loud noises or always picked the seat with her back to the wall. No one asked why her essays were always about survival. She'd learned early, you could excel on paper and still be invisible in a hallway. Miss Mallon, her counselor, Mr. Hargrove, adjusted his glasses. You've been accepted to 3 top universities. Why throw that away for the military? Kara met his eyes, but said nothing at first. She hated how they always phrased it like surrender, like enlisting meant giving up. I'm not throwing anything away, she said finally. I'm going where people don't pretend the world is fine. Hargrove frowned. You're too smart for war. No one's smart enough for war, she replied. But someone has to go. The news feeds buzzed with quiet terror that semester. The Tsal hive expansion had overtaken 2 colonies in the Cygnus sector. Human forces had held the line, barely on Terra 9. Kara watched the live drone footage nightly. Others flinched at the sight of acid-wielding insectoids swarming trenches. She studied it, rewound it, memorized tactics. A recruiter visited the school in late May. The other students mocked the holographic slideshow. Join the coalition, see the stars. Kara asked real questions. What's the mortality rate in trench divisions? Does the exosuit resist psionic interference? The recruiter blinked. You sure you're 17? She nodded. 18 next week. I've already pre-qualified for combat engineering. She didn't smile when he whistled low. Didn't think I'd get any real soldiers in a high school. I'm not a soldier yet, Kara replied. Just someone tired of pretending. Graduation day was hot, the auditorium packed. Kara's name echoed off the walls, followed by polite applause. Her valedictorian speech was short, emotionless, and honest. They taught us formulas. They forgot to teach us how to survive. I hope we learned that on our own. No one clapped after that. Her mother didn't attend. No one sat in Kara's row of chairs. The principal gave her a medal with one hand and shuffled her offstage with the other. Another problem checked off the list. That night, as fireworks bloomed in the sky for the graduating class, Kara sat alone in her room, zipping her duffel shut. Coalition ID tags sat on the desk. Her high school diploma rested in a drawer she would never open again. She tried to become something more than a silent girl in a classroom full of noise. The war would teach her how. Boots in the dirt of Terra 9. Nothing prepared Kara for the stench of war. The training vids hadn't mentioned the smell, the mix of scorched earth, chemical rot, and something bitterly biological that clung to everything. Terra 9 wasn't just a battlefield. It was a wound. Her first week out of Earth's atmosphere was a blur. Boot camp on Titan Station was fast-tracked, 3 months of drills compressed into 5 weeks. The human coalition force needed bodies. Trained minds like hers were a bonus. But the war didn't wait. On day 6 planetside, Kara stepped off the transport and into mud. The exo boots sank 6 inches deep. Red dust clung to her armor like it wanted to claim her. Overhead, 2 moons blinked behind gray clouds, and the sound of distant artillery rolled like thunder across the hills. They assigned her to Echo Squad, a mixed unit of infantry and combat engineers. Her designation, Field Technician, Grade 2, but everyone just called her Steel. The name had started as a joke, born after she disabled a hive node with a plasma wrench and no backup. But it stuck. Kara didn't flinch when others hesitated. She didn't scream when the Tsal got too close. The Tsal weren't just enemies. They were nightmares in bone-carved chitin, fast and hive mind smart. Their drones came in waves, black-legged monsters with acid glands and razor claws, immune to fear and pain. No face. No mercy. Kara's first combat was in the trenches outside Outpost 47 during a night op gone wrong. A patrol unit triggered a pheromone trap, and suddenly the quiet darkness turned into hell. She remembered the screaming more than the fighting. Private Lynn was the first to die, sprayed across the wall by a leaping drone. Kara's hands didn't shake as she fired, then reloaded again. The HUD on her helmet flashed warnings. Heat rising. Ammo low. Enemy numbers climbing. She didn't panic. Her squad leader, Sergeant Elias, barked orders over comms, but most of them were drowned in static and screams. Kara patched a breach in the forward wall while drones clawed at her flank. She improvised an electrified grid using a shorted shield battery and a barbed wire coil. The defense held. She saved 8 lives that night. Elias said she'd probably save the whole outpost. She didn't feel like a hero. She just felt tired. In the downtime, when the drones weren't swarming and the skies weren't raining fire, Echo Squad rested in sandbag bunkers under flickering heat lamps. They played cards, swapped horror stories, traded smokes. Kara rarely spoke, but when she did, people listened. She had a way of distilling chaos into clarity. Elias started asking her opinion before operations. "You've got eyes like someone who's already been through this," he said one evening, looking at her across a crate table. "What did high school do to you?" "Nothing," she said simply. "That's the problem." He nodded slowly. Didn't press. They all had stories. Kara just kept hers sealed behind the steel. 1 week, 2 weeks, then a month passed. Kara stopped counting. Outpost 47 became her world. Every inch of ground was won, lost, then clawed back again. She learned to calibrate turret emplacements in under 3 minutes. Learned the sound of a drone's claws before it appeared. Learned how to stop a fellow soldier from bleeding out with a laser seal and a quiet word. Sometimes, she dreamed of her high school desk, still wobbling under her elbow. In those dreams, she tried to scream, but the classroom was always silent, just like it had been in real life. On her 19th birthday, Elias gave her a clean data chip. "Start a log," he said. "Write it down before the war eats it all." She stared at the chip for a long moment. "What's the point?" "So you remember what you were before you became what you are." Kara didn't answer, but later that night, she sat under a broken comm tower, staring into the haze. And for the first time in months, she cried. Just a few tears. Then she wiped them away, checked her rifle, and went back to work. Still in silence, Kara Mallon returned to Earth on a gray morning, 3 years and 9 combat rotations after she'd left it. She stepped off the orbital shuttle at the Terran Discharge Center, duffel slung over one shoulder, boots still caked with dust from Terra 9. The same planet where she'd watched friends die, where she'd earned her stripes, and where the Coalition said she'd made a difference. The clerk at the desk handed her a bronze service pin and a generic smile. "Welcome home, specialist." Home. Whatever that meant anymore. The city hadn't changed, but she had. She walked past coffee shops, full of teenagers glued to their neural lenses. News feeds played upbeat coverage of victories abroad, but they cut to commercials before showing body bags. The war was old news now, packaged, sterilized, forgotten. The silence felt louder than gunfire. Kara didn't go home. Her mother had moved 2 years into the war, didn't leave a forwarding address. She didn't expect one. Instead, she rented a 1-room flat near her old high school and signed up for a quiet life no one had trained her for. She didn't sleep well. She didn't dream, either, just floated in cold black. 2 months later, a letter arrived from Easton High School, the place she once escaped from. It was stiff, formal, clearly written by an administrator who thought they were doing something noble. "We'd be honored to have you speak at this year's graduation ceremony. Your story is an inspiration to the student body." Kara stared at the letter. It wasn't an invitation. It was a photo op, a way for the school to say, "Look, one of ours made it." She almost threw it away, but something made her go. The auditorium looked exactly the same. Same blue banners. Same polished stage. Same row of bored, sweating students in identical robes. Kara stood backstage in uniform, pressed, decorated, perfect. She felt like a statue someone dragged out for display. No one here had ever lifted a weapon. No one here had stood in red dirt watching a friend bleed out beside them. And yet they all clapped when her name was called, like they understood. As she walked across the stage, Principal Dorson shook her hand. "We're proud of you, Kara." She looked him in the eye. "You never knew me." He chuckled awkwardly. "Ah, well, you were always so quiet." She smiled without warmth. "You were always too loud." Her speech was short, honest. It didn't rhyme or sparkle. "I left the school feeling invisible. Then I fought in a war where no one had the luxury of pretending. We survived because we listened. We adapted. We failed each other sometimes, but not by looking away. High school prepared me to memorize facts. War taught me how to value people. If I seem different now, it's because I became what this place couldn't see I already was." Silence. Then, hesitant applause. Some stood, some didn't. Kara didn't stay to pose for pictures. She wandered the halls afterward alone. The classrooms felt smaller now, the walls closer. In the main corridor, she paused outside a guidance office, Hargrove's old room. The nameplate was new. The man inside was not. He looked up. "Can I help, Kara?" She didn't sit. "You told me not to enlist." He cleared his throat. "Well, yes, I recall. That was a long time ago." "Not to me." He gave a weak smile. "You made it through, though. You proved me wrong." She didn't smile back. "I didn't need to." As she turned to leave, she caught sight of a girl seated outside the office. Thin, eyes down, backpack clutched too tight. Kara paused. "You okay?" The girl flinched. "I guess." Kara crouched, met her eyes. "You don't have to be." The girl blinked. Kara offered her card. "Veteran Youth Outreach. I'm starting a chapter here. You ever feel like no one hears you?" "I will." The girl didn't smile, but she took the card. Later that night, Kara walked home past the rows of brick houses and manicured lawns. A wind brushed her cheek, and for a moment, she could almost smell Terra 9 again. Smoke, ozone, blood. But it faded. She wasn't in the war anymore. And she wasn't back in high school either. She was somewhere new. Somewhere in between. And maybe, just maybe, that was where change could begin. The fire they ignored. Kara Mallon sat in a cold, metal chair in the middle of a fluorescent-lit school boardroom. Her coalition uniform was neatly pressed. Her ribbons gleamed. No one else in the room looked half as put together. Across the table, 5 board members shifted uncomfortably, glancing between each other. They hadn't expected her to show up. They definitely hadn't expected her to speak. She leaned forward, voice calm. Controlled. Measured like a charge before detonation. "You asked me here to discuss a motivational outreach partnership," she said. "But I'm not here to inspire anyone. I'm here because your school failed me. And it's still failing students like the girl I met last week." A hush fell. The kind that comes when the truth finally has teeth. In the days following her return to Easton High, Kara had started building something real. A program the school hadn't asked for and probably didn't want. She called it Project Steel. Not for herself, but for what it stood for. Resilience, awareness, and giving a voice to those still unheard. It wasn't just about war veterans. It was about kids being crushed by the quiet apathy of the system. Every Thursday, she hosted open talks in the unused library annex. The first week, 1 student showed up. The second, 5. By the 4th, she was out of chairs. They talked about anxiety, about pressure, about being told to fit a mold or disappear. Kara never lectured. She just listened. And when she spoke, she didn't sugarcoat the world. "You don't need to survive a war to know pain," she told them once. "You just need to be overlooked long enough to believe it's your fault." Her speech at the school board meeting didn't go viral overnight. It detonated. A student had recorded it on their comm implant. The footage hit the local news by morning, then national feeds by noon. In it, Kara stood behind a podium and delivered her truth like a tactical strike. "High school taught me how to sit down and shut up. The war taught me how to stand up and speak. Only one of those places prepared me for the real world, and it wasn't here." Comment threads exploded. Some called her a hero. Others called her bitter. She didn't care. She hadn't come back to be loved. She came back to be heard. A month later, Project Steel had chapters in 3 neighboring schools. Then 7. Then 10. Veterans reached out to help, those who understood trauma in any language. Teachers who'd once felt powerless joined, too. Relief someone finally said what they couldn't. Kara never made it about herself. She refused interviews, declined book deals, didn't monetize pain. Instead, she mentored. She met with Lena, the quiet girl outside the guidance office, once a week. Lena didn't open up right away. She barely spoke, but she always showed up. One afternoon, Lena asked, "Were you ever scared over there?" Kara nodded. "All the time. But you didn't quit." "I thought about it. But then I thought, if I give up, who protects the others?" Lena didn't say anything for a long time. Then, quietly, "I think I feel like that here." Kara's throat tightened. She looked at her, really looked, and saw the version of herself that had once been left behind. "You're already stronger than they know," Kara said. "Don't let them convince you otherwise." On the 1-year anniversary of Project Steel, Kara stood in front of a crowded auditorium, not as a guest, not as a hero, but as a leader. Students, veterans, teachers, even board members were in attendance. She wore civilian clothes this time. No medals, no uniform, just a steel pin on her collar. "I didn't come back to be your savior," she said. "I came back because no one saved me. And I decided that ends here." The applause that followed wasn't polite. It was real, loud, alive. Afterward, as she walked out into the night air, someone caught up to her. It was Lena. She was smiling. "I applied to the Outreach Fellowship, the one you helped set up." Kara blinked. "You did?" Lena nodded. "I want to help the next kid who feels like they're drowning." For the first time in a long time, Kara let herself smile without restraint. "Good," she said, "because this world doesn't change unless we make it." They walked into the dark together. And this time, Kara didn't feel alone.